In 2023, I made a little over $1.2 million, and today I'm going to be discussing my salary in full transparency over the course of the last 15 years. What's up, guys? My name is Casey McKeown, and I'm a licensed real estate agent and investor both in the Dallas-Fort Worth market of Texas and the Orlando, Florida market. Now, before I jump into today's video, I do want to say that this particular video topic has been something I've wanted to discuss for quite some time, just haven't quite, felt comfortable enough to do so. Now, in full transparency, which to be honest with you guys is what my entire YouTube channel is about, showcasing the good, the bad, and the ugly, talking about salary until really recently on TikTok, which is the whole reason I'm creating this video, really wasn't seen as something one should do. And to be honest with you guys, even detailing my entire childhood, I never really understood what my dad made. And the reason being is he didn't think it was appropriate to discuss what he made because he, at the end of the day, never even understood what his father made. Now, to continue with that story, all I really understood as a child was that my dad made a lot because he worked a lot. And my mom didn't make as much because she was a public educator, and I actually was able to see the progression of what my mother made over the course of being a middle school PE teacher, which she's finally retiring as of this year at year 39. But what I didn't really understand was what my dad actually made. And still to this day, even though my dad retired 5 or 6 years ago, he still doesn't discuss what he makes because, again, at the end of the day, he just doesn't feel like it's appropriate or even that he's most comfortable in doing so. So again, this video is not to showboat how much Casey makes and how much of a difference it's made in his life being able to earn the income that I do make, but instead this video is about transparency and to educate you guys that, hey, you don't have to necessarily work a ton of hours to make a six-figure income. And truth be told, there is a lot of misconceptions when it comes to just overall salary. So with me being 34, this actually starts all the way about 15 years ago at the age of 19. Now, I will say I started really my first big kid job at 16. By the time I was 18, I was really working one full-time job and a couple part-time jobs, but really where all of my salary starts to build is when I joined the Marine Corps at 19 years old. Now, because a lot of this was 15 years ago, I'm gonna be giving you rough numbers, especially early on when it comes to my salary. Now, at the age of 19, I did join the Marine Corps, and my rough salary was about $1,500 every 2 weeks. Now, if you do some quick math there, that's about $3,000 a month, or about $36,000 a year. Now, the perk of this was the fact that I didn't actually have to pay any kind of rent. Now, the downside of that was I lived in the barracks and I basically ate chow hall food for the course of my 4 years in the Marine Corps, but I didn't really have to pay for most food or really any kind of housing. So really that $36,000 wasn't utilized on rent and wasn't utilized a ton on food, which oftentimes are your two largest monthly expenses. So that $36,000 may not seem like a lot, but at the time, as a 19-year-old kid, it seemed to go quite far. And as most of you guys may know, a military contract requires you to do, for the most part, at least 4 years of service. So by year 3 or by year 4 of being in the Marine Corps, I was roughly making $46,000 a year. So I got promoted a couple times and increased my salary from that $36,000 a year back in 2008 to when I got out in 2012, I was making about $46,000 a year in annual salary. But again, I was not paying for housing and I was not paying for most food. So that $46,000 actually went a little bit further than it would normally go as a normal salary. So now we move into the third quarter of 2012, which is when I got out of the Marine Corps and decided to go to undergraduate college at San Diego State, but that only wound up being a year until I moved up to Washington State University, which again was only for about 2 years, and then I wound up down in Texas at Texas A&M for 1 year to finish my master's degree. So that moves us into the fall of 2016, which is when I finally felt like I was getting somewhere in my career, even a little bit later than those peers that I went to high school with because most of those folks had already been working for quite a few years. But at the age of 26 is when I finally got to start teaching high school math and coach high school wrestling. And to circle back just a little bit about what I discussed at the beginning of this video, the reason why I wanted to be a high school teacher or just a teacher in general was, first of all, I loved coaching, I loved sports, wrestling was a huge impact in my life, but I also knew I wanted to be around my family, what would be my future family, and I essentially was taught as a kid, again, as I stated earlier in this video, that my mom was a teacher and she was around, my dad worked a lot, made a lot, but he was never around. So my assumption was if I become a teacher, at least I'll be able to be around my kids a lot, and I didn't really necessarily care about the low income that most teachers have. But I'll be honest with you guys, only a couple years into that first year of teaching, which was in 2016, when my salary is about $52,000, and that includes also my coaching stipend, I realized that, first of all, I have a lot more time on my hands. At that time, at the age of 27, I didn't have any family, I didn't have any kids or a wife. So I just had a bunch of free time on my hands. And then in addition to that, I also started to realize that other people that were of similar age we're finding a lot more success in different careers. So to cut to the chase, I only wound up really teaching for 2 years, that year of 2016 and 2017 in San Antonio, Texas. And then from the year 2017 to 2018, I moved up to Dallas, and that's really when the endeavor into real estate began. So with all that being said, my real estate salary progression all started back in 2016, technically the summer of 2016. I spent a solid 12 months reading as many books as I possibly could, watching as many podcasts, and meeting as many real estate investors as I possibly could. And then really Q1 of 2017 is when I decided, hey, if I'm gonna be investing in real estate, I might as well get my real estate license. So by the time I finally stepped foot in Dallas in the summer of 2017, before I began teaching high school for really only 1 year here before I left full-time to pursue real estate, I was ready to hit the ground running. But again, guys, full transparency here, I didn't make a single dollar the first 5 months living here in Dallas. And yes, guys, I was putting in consistent work on a daily basis with hopes to being able to close a real estate deal. But again, it still took me 5 months to do so. By the end of 2017, I had acquired 1 rental property, roughly paid me about $17,000 over the course of half of 2017. And I wound up closing about 5 deals at the end of 2017 when it comes to my real estate sales, and it paid me about $25,000. That, again, was almost half of my teacher salary. And this is what really started to open my eyes. And even beyond just opening my eyes, this is really where the fun began. Moving forward into 2018, I had to finish out my year through essentially May as a high school teacher. But again, that's when I went full-time as a real estate agent, even though I was doing real estate agent deals the entire year of 2018. So by the end of 2018, I had been a full-time real estate agent for a little under 6 months and earned a little under $200,000 in gross commission income. Again, before I get into too much detail regarding my gross commission income, this is before taxes, this is before any kind of expenses. That was just the total gross income that I earned. Now this moves me into the year of 2019, where I continued to see an increase in my total salary progression. Now with gross commission income, or the sales that I do as a real estate agent, I made a little over $315,000 and a little over $40,000 when it comes to the total rent that I accumulated over the course of the entire year in 2019. I think the year 2019 is when I really started to see that real estate as a whole, both investing and being a real estate agent, had a huge upside. Really, at the end of the day, there was no ceiling for me. As I continued to push forward and help more and more people buy, sell, or invest, it essentially allowed me to earn more income and then invest more in real estate. Now, you may be asking how exactly I earned that $42,000 in gross rental income. Well, I had, over the course of the last couple years, bought a duplex, bought a single family, and then also by the end of 2019, bought a quad, or a fourplex as well. And now that brings us to the year of 2020. And I can tell you, living in Texas, I don't have to give you details, but there was a ton of real estate business that happened in the year 2020. Because people had now the opportunity to essentially relocate wherever they wanted, and at the time, housing was still quite affordable in Texas as a whole. So my gross commission income from the year before was about $315,000, but that skyrocketed almost to $500,000 in 2020. And then in addition to that, because I had about 6 tenants now paying me rent every single month, I had now grossed over 6 figures in gross rental income, just a little over $100,000. But again, both of these sources of income are gross and not net, meaning before mortgages, before expenses, before anything in regards to what it costs to be able to run a real estate business. But still, being able to earn $600,000 in just gross income as a whole was a huge step in salary progression from when I was a teacher or even when I was in the Marine Corps. But guys, that isn't all that happened in 2020. Now, dating back to 2017, I joined a real estate brokerage that I knew had an opportunity to earn passive income as a real estate agent. Now, it wasn't a source of income that I really worked on basically all of 2017 through 2019 because I was too focused on selling actual real estate. But what I will tell you is over the course of those 3 years from 2017 to 2019 is I sold a ton of homes. And obviously that's reflected in my gross commission income. But also in addition to that, I made a ton of friends in the real estate agent network. Now we're moving forward to the year of 2020. And as I mentioned before, 2020 was just an absolutely insane year with incredibly low interest rates, but also people having the flexibility ability to really travel and move wherever they want. So my gross commission income only slightly went up from a little under $500,000 to a little over $500,000 in 2021. And also, in addition to the fact that my gross commission income only went up slightly, I also didn't purchase any additional investment properties that gained really any kind of rental income in 2021. So my gross rental income was about the same it was in 2020 as well compared to 2021. But the real source of income that continued to grow from what it was in 2020 was because I actually made a move at the end of 2020, transitioning into 2021 from one brokerage over to the current brokerage I'm at today, Real Brokerage, and my revenue share went from $20,000 a year in 2020 to six figures at about $100,000 a year in 2021. Now, although my rental income stayed the same and my commissions only slightly went up, there was a massive increase in one of my sources of income, and that's revenue share, the income that I started to generate in 2020. Now, one thing I will tell you is I actually made a brokerage change at the end of 2020 to what is my now brokerage, where I've been for a little over 3 years now at Real Brokerage. Now, as I mentioned before, in 2020, I made a little over $20,000 in revenue share, or that passive source of income from agents completing transactions within Real Brokerage. Now, fast forward to 2021, that source of income absolutely skyrocketed to about a little over $180,000. And that brings us to the fun year of 2022. Now, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, 2022 was an adventurous year, to say the least. I actually started to build a real estate team and realized by the end of 2022, it was the worst financial decision I've ever made in my real estate career. So you're gonna see one source of income that actually increased, but I'll tell you guys, profitability-wise, and this is why I'm talking solely gross income, I didn't make as much money in 2022 as I did in 2021. So moving forward into 2022, my salary progression or earned income had grown to $750,000, or about $750,000 in terms of gross commission income. But as I just stated, the majority of that was respent on my team. I think roughly about $450,000 is what my team cost me in 2022, and you can see why I wound up going in a different direction. My gross rental income continued to climb in 2022 because I purchased a property in 2021, technically two properties in 2021 that both started generating income in 2022. So my gross rental income went up from $100,000 to $150,000 in 2022. And also similar to the substantial growth I saw in revenue share from the year of 2020 to 2021, I also saw another jump from 2021 to 2022, accumulating about $280,000 in revenue share. And that brings us to the current year of 2023. That's got about a week left in the year, but I will tell you, I have totaled my income out for the year, and it varies considerably compared to 2022. As I just mentioned, 2022 was not a fun year for me. I built a real estate team and essentially decided to get rid of it completely by October of 2022. But needless to say, I have plenty of lessons that I've learned, although that's probably the most expensive one I've learned in real estate. But moving forward, I am a solo agent with a couple employees that assist with my social media as well as my transactions. So where does my salary progression lie at the end of 2023 with about a week left in this calendar year? I will tell you, because I got rid of my team, I made a substantial amount less in gross commission income. But again, I am worried more about profitability than just total income earned. So my total gross commission income when we're looking at just GCI is a little under $500,000 at $470,000. And also when it comes to real estate income, I spent a lot of time this year on my cabin up in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. It's actually been renting out for about half the year, but my total gross rental income has absolutely skyrocketed because I have a property now that is a short-term rental and generating a substantial amount of income. So instead of making about $150,000 in gross rental income, I'm now making well over $300,000 in gross rental income. But again, guys, that does not mean total take home. That is before any of the countless mortgages that I have. But again, with a lot of my time spent towards that short-term rental, as well as kind of taking a step back when it comes to real estate sales, because I am no longer supporting a team, you obviously see a fall in gross commission income. You see a substantial growth in total gross rental income. And last but not least, revenue share yet again, year over year continues to climb. In the year of 2023, I have earned $420,000 in revenue share. I continue every single day to put forth as much effort as I can to help other agents, whether they be locally, just not on my team, or agents all over the country, continue to sell more homes and attract agents to the incredible brokerage that I'm at in order to potentially change their financial future. So yes, I made a little over $1.2 million in 2023, which is not much of an increase over what I made in 2022, which was roughly about the same. But one thing I have realized over the course of the last 7 years being a licensed real estate agent is profitability. My year in 2023, I am far more profitable than what I was in 2022, and I'm excited to see what I'm gonna be earning in 2024 with, again, likely far more profit than I made this year. So there you guys have it, my entire salary progression over the course of the last 15 years, from essentially a 19-year-old gambling addict joining the Marine Corps in hopes to be able to get over his addiction, to now a thriving real estate agent and investor that is continuing to not just build his income, but continue to build his profitability. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video.